You're awesome. I knew you could do it.
on the chapter 2.
That's perfect. You go.
Hey guys.
Hey, Amy.
Hey.
How's your mouth?
Better. Like the numbness is pretty much gone, but now it's just like really sore. So
Oh,
yeah.
Stinker.
All right.
Those are no fun dentist visits.
No. All right, so we are going to be covering chapters 16, 17, and 18 tonight. Really good. Sorry, it takes a long time to scroll through. I do mine on my e-reader here thing.
Yeah.
So, anything?
Whatever. Yeah, it's chapter 16. Whatever you need or position in whatever you need or position in life. I like this chapter, how it's just really qualifying us all, no matter what we've been through, success, failure, wherever we are. The brain doesn't matter to the brain.
Yeah.
And that's consecutive from what, coincides with what we've talked about previously, but it's just, I thought that was really cool. It doesn't matter whether you have succeeded or failed in the past. The workings of the human brain are completely indifferent to your situation in life. Anyone can use self-talk and benefit.
Yeah, it's interesting when he says that, a lot of us, when we are trying to increase either like our earnings, or you could think of anything, like I could even put like try and lose 5 pounds or anything, like we focus so much on that, like the thing. And it's interesting because this is exactly what I was thinking about today. And instead of trying to figure out, or instead of believing that we're capable of doing it, like working on who we're becoming, like Bob Heilig says that a lot, like who you're becoming, if you work on that.
Yeah. Or who you need to be, right?
Yeah, because everything will fall into place if that's what your focus is on. Because to be somebody who, whatever, fill in the blank, that means you wouldn't be complaining, or you wouldn't be, negative Nelly, or it's who you would become. So it's really, I love that, because he says, talk to yourself about your self-worth. When you start to create a new picture of yourself being worth more, your subconscious mind will help you find a way to go about earning it, which is fascinating. Again, that could go for, it doesn't have to just be money. That can be respect. That can be job offers. That could be all kinds of things.
Your goal setting. Yep. And then he gets into the area of management, which I thought was really, really cool and fascinating. That if you manage people, it has to start with managing yourself.
Yeah. On page 122-ish, I think, I don't even know if that's the same. Is that the same for like all Kindles?
I don't know. What are you talking? I'll tell you if it's the book.
Because self-talk changes the picture, changes the programming, which creates the belief, which develops the attitude, which creates the feelings, which control the behavior. So often we go for that behavior first, like, don't do that. It's behavioral, and they have such bad behavior. And if you go backwards and start with the programming by saying, oh my goodness, you're so smart at figuring things out, or whatever, think of what you could say differently that you would say something to a child, and then put yourself there, instead of like, we think about, oh, you would never say that to a child, or, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then you do it to yourself all the time. Like, oh, you're so stupid. Oh, you can't do anything right. Like you don't ever say that to people. And yet we say it to ourselves all the time in our head. And so if you can change that programming, you'll change who you believe you are. And then that becomes into your attitude and your feelings and then your behavior. So I thought that's such a good reminder.
Yeah. Are you guys catching yourselves before you say what you normally might say off the cuff about yourself? I'm still catching myself.
Yes.
I'm catching myself more, like, probably not before I say it, but as I'm saying it, and more to my kids than to myself. I think.
That's great though. Like, I feel like my ears are like supersonic bionic ears right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, turn the volume down. I'm like hearing everything like in this new light. It's amazing.
I feel like it's also kind of hard because, like, relationships that were one way, like, it's just, I don't know how to even phrase it right now, but it's just like kind of hard to be like growing and then seeing other people staying in negativity, and like especially when you're super close to them. You know what I mean?
Completely. It is. It's sad. Like it makes me feel sad.
I think too, though, you know, when he talks about the children becoming more just better in school, better in whatever, I think like this is so new for a lot of us that not to lose heart, because you're going to see that, but the more you're hanging up stuff around your house and you're more even like saying things out loud in the car when your kids are driving, your husband's sitting there, your friends in the, you know, back seat or whatever, they're going to be like, it will rub off on them. It's crazy. It does.
It does.
It's not, and probably at first it almost might do the opposite because it's so against kind of like it's abrasive.
It's against the grain, the way the grain's going. Yeah.
Yeah. And what they're used to, because remember, like that's how you used to be too. And so
still am.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like, but I understand, like, you know, when you, everybody changes at a different rate. Everybody has different timeline, you know, for their growth.
Yeah. Yeah. This one section where, and you might have already touched on it, but it's where it does talk about like if there were two children, one whose self-talk created strong self-esteem, good habits, and a positive yes I can spirit, and one who was left to rely on the average unsure programming that most children receive, like which one, you know, would we vote for? Like which one would we choose to be ourselves and to have for our children? Like, but like it reminded me of like Julia in school actually. And so as I've been going through this book, I've been sharing a lot of these things with her. And I wonder too, like with Jack, especially like where he's at in learning and stuff, because Julia was like, could really identify with a lot of that. Just it's a different learning style and a different approach to learning. So like she would always kind of she's in her senior year now, but she would always be like, yeah, it's really hard for me. And it was and is, but like I've been encouraging her to say the opposite of like those things, like that I can do this. I have an amazing mind. I can remember information. I can, you know, comprehend this material. I'm telling you, you guys, it is already proving like a change in her,
it's really cool.
Her test taking even. Like, I'm like, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have not pointed anything out to her, but like as I'm just now listening to her, yeah, Mom, and like everyone around me did horrible on this test. I got an 85, you know, and I'm just like, Just like, keep going, Jules.
That's awesome. Was there something that stuck out to you in the habits he listed on page 128?
Yeah, like that
there's a
jumped
lot.
out for me, like something I wanted to change.
Yeah, or you're just like,
Totally.
whoa, I just didn't even realize that that was a bad, like, I think sometimes we put things like, oh yeah, smoking's a bad habit, but being sarcastic isn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Things jumped out at me for sure. Yeah. I would really like to start working on for myself. Like, I am really great at managing my time to be able to arrive to places, like not even so much on time, but yes, on time. And then to even leave places. Like, I do such a bad, oh, see, I am known to not manage my time well. So as far as what the results there, what happens on both those ends. So I'm excited to be the person. I am the person who manages time really well.
Yeah.
And that's also with listening to the Spirit when it will make me late, but that's what the Spirit's saying. I want you to do this over here and be obedient to that and not worry about those other pressures of, expectations. So it's like all together, right? It's like the freedom to, I am going to do that well.
For me, it's not taking care of details. And, well, there's kind of a few, but I'll just stick with that one. Yeah, not taking care of details. So I guess a way of changing that is saying, and I thought this was interesting where he says, like, do like 12 things that really like encompass the whole thing. Don't just be like, I'm good at taking care of detail. I'm good at taking care of details. Like, don't just say that. Really think through it and just say, I couldn't just come up with things right off the top of my head right now, but he covers that later.
Yeah. He says, like, state your goal or the result you want to achieve in the present tense. He says that. And then he says, okay, that's
I think it's the last chapter. I think it's the last one where he talks about grouping them.
But it is right here in this one, changing habits, because it's like to talk about the subject in like a very complete way, like have a full conversation with yourself about it.
Yeah.
Because you need to like be specific with the details, like the programming that you're giving your brain, like you would a computer.
Leave no stone unturned.
Yes.
So I guess you could go into different areas of life that you should, be taking care of details. Like I could say, in business, nobody ever falls through the cracks,
Yes.
In our, this is kind of silly, but it's a big thing for me. At home, I always know what's for dinner. That's a small detail, but it's really helpful when that is a detail that's worked out. So, so that's good. It's good to kind of hash things out like that sometimes because you don't really, I don't know, it's helpful.
Yeah, so this was the example from the freedom from worry. I never worry. Instead of worrying, I find solutions and I act on them. My mind is constantly in tune with the positive. It is bright, cheerful, right? Like thinking about like all those adjectives. It's bright, cheerful, enthusiastic, full of good, positive thoughts and ideas. Like, wow, that's really getting into what that looks like. It's good. And then it goes on and on.
Was anyone like wow, I would have never have expanded that first, like, I'm not a warrior or whatever, into like a page and a half of
Exactly.
like, man, I need to learn how to do this better.
I am going to spend time doing that on
Yeah.
my habit I want to break for sure.
Yeah.
And then the last chapter, chapter 18, is the awesome chapter of rewiring attitudes. That big, powerful word, attitude. There's so much here.
I definitely want to share this with at least my older kids. I think it's really good because I've totally said that. Change your attitude. Like when you really think about it, it really doesn't, like, there's no weight to those words at all. There's no guidance in those words either.
Yeah.
And self-talk for taking responsibility for yourself. Now, if you did that, if you could teach young people and if you could teach yourself how to take responsibility, wow, that's basically what we said. Like, that's a good attitude. And if everybody was doing this, seriously, I mean, whoa.
And that's it. It's the taking the responsibility.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I have no need to make excuses and no one needs to carry my responsibility for me. I gladly carry my own weight and I carry it well. So good. And he has like 11 more of those sentences. Super good. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. And even the self-esteem one, I mean, they're all good. It's amazing.
Yeah.
When you read that positive, it feels so life-giving. Like the self-esteem part, when he says, I smile a lot. I'm happy on the inside and I'm happy on the outside. I like who I am. I'm glad to be me. Like, I'm full of life. The more you say that, the more it will be true.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good. This is honestly, really, really encouraging. It's great. So take the mental inventory of our attitudes and see where we don't really actually like the attitudes we have that are not serving us well at all.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of them. Keep the ones you like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would even say, if starting at this chapter is so good too. Like if you're like, I don't want to, because I know, John, you said that you were a couple of chapters behind. Start here. Like read.
He's a couple in.
So good. Yeah. Read 18. It's excellent.
Chapter 18, John. Go for it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think we should all read these positive affirmations for self-esteem and taking responsibility for ourselves daily.
Yes.
With the Word of God.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm going to copy and paste them. And hey, maybe I could do that.
Enlarge them. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I could even make a Word document or something and stick it in our group. So yeah, so good. Well, that is all I have.
Yeah, that was nice.
Anybody else has any thoughts? But I want to.
Little changes in attitudes can make big changes in life. Boom. Mic drop.
There you go. Absolutely.
So thanks guys. So we are chapter 19, 20, and 21.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're really pushing through. This is nice.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks for hopping on tonight. Have a great night.
Yeah, thanks guys.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right, good night.